Hi everyone, the daylight's getting away a little bit, but no worries because this is going to be a shorter tutorial where I just am going to go over a few ways to work with watercolor washes. Just give you a couple examples of what they do. Some of these you might already know because they're just standard techniques with getting texture on the surface with watercolor. But the main focus is to take these these watercolor papers and these textures, kind of have fun with it, and then collage a little bit. You can go into an old piece, you can make something new, and then we're going to use those as studies for a larger piece next week. Okay, so this is a little shorter, very playful, and you can experiment a lot here. Before I get to the different techniques with the watercolor, I did bring out some of my older studies. These seem really great for reworking with texture. There are already some mixed media on here, smaller little watercolors that I did with watercolor and colored pencil. And of course my demo from last week, which is just kind of the first and second pass. I could, even collage some different textured papers in there to really enhance the look of this. When I do adhere paper to paper, I usually use rubber cement. Matte medium is another way to glue things, Mod Podge, and then glue stick would be that as well. Okay, so I'm gonna actually move over to the station and I will get out a few collage papers and just show you a couple techniques that you can use. Kind of salting, playing around with some plastic or saran wrap, and then using also the masking fluid. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I'm looking at just some ways to play around with texture and watercolor. And a few things that I have at my station today. One of them is the masking fluid, and I'm going to show you how that's used, kind of the tips and tricks with that. Of course, masking tape works as a resist. You can paint around it, you can create shapes, you can use an X-Acto knife, so you can create torn textures, or you can, use precise textures, but it's a very simple way to get a resist on the page. The last thing, I just brought out my simple salt shaker. I have iodized salt, but if you use the sea salt or the larger crystals, you're going to get a different effect with that. I'm just going to go ahead and use one color in my regular brush, my wash brush. Nothing too fancy. Apologies, there's a bit of a slant to the camera here, an angle, but I was adjusting my settings and, kind of wanted to get to it. There was some angle to this and I was like, well, I could fiddle with it all day. Okay, so again, for the first wash, I'm just gonna I have my vermilion here. I'm just gonna go ahead and just go on top of the masking tape. Again, wash number one. One of the things when you're using any sort of resists, you just wanna go ahead and make sure that you let it dry all the way before you get rid of whatever it was that you were using. Masking fluid, now though, that's the last thing I'm gonna do, and you have to use a brush that you are okay throwing away because the masking fluid's very hard to get off of the brush, so don't use anything nice for that. Okay, the second one, I'm gonna actually put this on a little more opaque. Okay, so this is a different wash that I'm doing here. And this sponges kind of worked like this too, but you can go ahead and kind of take a saran wrap and kind of work with, again, this is kind of a feel thing. So while it's wet, put that down, press, bring it up. And it's one of those things, again, works a little bit like a sponge. Like what kind of feelings or textures can you get from that? Again, kind of leave it organic. The other thing, you can actually take the same exact plastic, dip it into the watercolor, and then kind of put it down, move it around in that way as well. Okay, so what this does is just kind of get this odd, randomized. I like kind of moving it in and out. Giving it a bit of a texture, okay? And a lot of different, again, sponges do this. When it comes off of the saran wrap, that kind of gives it a nice little splatter that's interesting and delicate. You might say, why saran wrap? I don't know. It's just kind of easy. It's disposable. There's a randomized texture to it. So it's very similar to sponging. That's what I'm doing right now. It's just kind of like a sponging technique, okay? But I'm using the saran wrap instead. Okay, the next one that I'm gonna do, okay, is, again, I wanna put this on thick enough so you can see. So I have another wash, and I'm actually gonna just put this in my hand. This is just your regular table salt. A lot of you have probably done this. Again, kids do this too. And I'm just gonna go ahead and sprinkle that salt. Okay, we're gonna zoom in on that a little bit. Oh, hopefully you can see that okay. Zoom in one more, can kind of see it on the edge there. Zoom out. Okay, that's like the little salting, and that's gonna be a little more noticeable than the saran wrap. As you can see, those are kind of subtle. But sometimes I like to do that and then lightly, do layer one or the other. So let's go ahead or like another color on top. So let me go ahead and grab one more color of watercolor. I just went for a blue, like a lapis lazuli. Oh, that's not a very good one. That one probably needs to be tossed. Let's see. Oh, this is a fun one. Kind of having fun just picking out some old colors that I didn't know about. Okay. Again, some of these paints might be a little bit too old, but we'll see. Aha, that one's nice. That's kind of like a cool red, and I can put that over the orange. Again, so sometimes with something like this, again, with the saran wrap texture, I can go ahead, put some water into this one. Again, for this whole exercise, go ahead and use maybe some of your, more heavier tooth paper, older paints, again, because you can kind of play around with textures, and this, it's not so precious. Okay, and kind of put that on top. Okay, so we have a little texture. That one kind of moved a little bit better. You can see, okay? Then I'm gonna go zoom in a little bit. Kind of see that I'm playing with that texture there. The salt is drying. And when the salt dries, it will be kind of clear, right? So it'll have these perfect little grainy, sandy things going on there. This, you can see, it's not totally dry yet, but I gotta wanna let dry because otherwise it does bleed into the edge there. But you can see what the tape resist is doing a nice clean thing. And then the last thing is this masking fluid, okay? Again, I love this stuff because you can be a lot more detailed with it, but you have to be very careful to get brushes that you don't care that they get gummy, because it's very hard to get the masking fluid out of the brushes. Okay, so this is taking a minute to open. Apologies. There we go. Okay, so what I do with this is I pour a little bit of it out. You don't really need that much. If you're doing fine detail work, again, fine brushes, if you're just doing some sort of pattern, that's fine too. Now this is gonna take a minute, but what I do is I basically just put that down on the page. I'll zoom in so you can see it. And I'm just using a random texture, okay? Okay. And what I'm gonna do with that, and then I'll really try to wash out my brush. Does help if you really try to wash it or get as much of the masking fluid out as you can right at the initial phase there. I sometimes forget to do that, and that makes the situation worse, but it does make the brush gummy, just FYI. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in there. Can you see? That is the masking fluid just sitting here on the page. I'm gonna let that dry a bit, okay? So you wanna let it dry for a little while, and then you can go ahead. It's not really gonna work right now, but I wanna give you an idea if that works. I can put a wash on top of this, okay? And you can see where that yellowy green masking fluid is. Once that dries, I can just peel it away, okay? So it's already working, it's working like the tape. It's working as a resist, but you can peel it off the page. Okay, so if you haven't worked with this before, it's really fun. You just have to allow yourself to get some dry time there. Okay, and you can see that bled through. So masking tape isn't as clear as the masking fluid. This is a lot more accurate and specific. Okay. Again, I really want you to get kind of a page together or multiple pages with textures. You can use watercolor. You can actually take pencil and draw on top. You can use pen. You can use, just have fun with it. And then you're going to take these papers that you've created, at least 5. They can be small, like half sheets. And then you're actually going to use them in a masterpiece of some kind or to rework a piece that you already have. And then also we can use those pieces to expand on a painting. So use it as kind of a sketch there. So that is all for today. Again, you can see I'm losing daylight a little bit, but it's a shorter tutorial. But again, kind of get those papers together, maybe rework an old piece, play around with the more kind of, let's see, the expressive abstract side of watercolor, the collage side, and then we'll kind of reconvene next week and use these studies and this experimentation for something else.